We are back. I want to read before we bring David Poile up a note that I sent him last week because I want everybody to know how I feel about this. Wanted to pass on my congratulations on what truly has been a Hall of Fame hockey career. You should look back on your hockey life and be able to say to yourself, job well done. I have always marveled at the grace and dignity you have always displayed, both in good times and tough times. I wish you nothing but the best in retirement. Go Preds. So, with that, we say hello to outgoing Predators general manager David Poile. You know what's scary, David? I remember when y'all first got here.
Well, that's as they say, the good old days. George, I should the way you read that. That's just the way I wrote it. That was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you very much. No, it's been a fantastic period of time in my life. The best time in my whole hockey career, being here in Nashville for almost now 26 years. And you're right. When we started this off, you were front and center in terms of your involvement. Helping, supporting, if you will, getting the major league sport here in Nashville, and specifically the Predators. And it's at the beginning there were some times that you wondered whether this was going to go in the right direction, get going, et cetera, et cetera. And then we've had Craig Leopold, who decided to sell the team after a number of years, and that was kind of a really dicey time for all of us. For me, going through a couple of ownership changes, and then the possibility the team was going to be moved to Hamilton, and you played a huge part in helping keep the Predators here, George. So you know about as much as I do about what's going on this franchise. But again, very, very grateful and thankful for the opportunity to get to be the first general manager here in Nashville, and I really am happy with what's turned out. I wish we would have won a Stanley Cup, but I'm really, really happy with it turned out in terms of how the Preds are perceived in Nashville, and what we do not only on the ice but off the ice equally as well.
So let me ask it that way, because at the beginning there was just sort of this: why are they here? We don't know anything about them. We don't know anything about hockey. We don't like hockey. And then I don't know. I've wondered if it was after the rally or whenever that all of a sudden it clicked, and this city really bought into this. For you, when do you think that happened?
I think it's by not specifically one incident, but I think first of all, I'm a bit prejudiced here because hockey's been my whole life, from my dad being an NHL player to an NHL manager. That's all I ever wanted to do in my life. So I mean, I'm pretty focused that hockey is the number one sport. I think it took a little bit of time to get people into the building and to see the game. And we always kind of had this mantra: if you could get to one or two games, and if you could sit beside somebody that actually knew a little bit about hockey, that you would be soon turn into a fan. And I think that's really what happened. I mean, but it's a whole bunch of things. It's the youth hockey that's got started, and then we built these Ford Ice centers, and things like that. It became the competitiveness of the team in terms of going from the expansion days to being a team that was making the playoffs every year. It's the game itself sold it. The type of people that we, like I said earlier, not only did they see our players on the ice, but they saw our players and our staff in the community, being part of the community, doing a lot of good things in charity work, if you will. It's the physical aspect of the game that maybe turned on some people. So it's a bunch of different things. It's also it's Craig Leopold again. I don't mean to be like when he possibly was going to sell the team, and the team was going to be moved. It was a big rallying cry in our community, not only our fans but the business community and yourself, to support the team. It's a whole bunch of things, but at the end of the day, we're here. We're here to stay. Bridgestone Arena is located right in downtown Nashville. I couldn't ask for a better location for a sporting building in terms of it ties in the hockey team and ties in Nashville all in one night, if you will. So Not too many things I can find that are wrong with the Nashville Predators right now, other than maybe moving up in the standings a few notches.
Well, I may ask about that here in a minute, but David, I think all of us struggle with when's the right time to say, I've had enough. I'm 63. I'm going to face that at some point. I don't look forward to it. I bet Watson, who's on here, who'll ask you a few questions in a minute, didn't enjoy the process either. How hard was this for you, and what ultimately was the tipping point where you said, this is the time?
Yeah, really, really hard. And again, when you go through something like the last week or so with the trading deadline and all the action that I kind of live for in this job, it's like I finished all that. And I'm thinking, man, this team is really we're going to be good in a couple of years. Why am I stepping back? The second part of that is this selfish, it's your ego, is that this is the only job I've ever wanted, was to be a general manager of a National Hockey League team. So to give your job away, that's kind of tough. But having said that, I'm obviously a bit older than 63, and I've done this for a long time. And I also felt, so I had some personal things that I think are really important for my wife and I and our family, and it's time to, give more time to that. Probably long overdue, to be very, very honest. And then the Predator side, I mean, I think and hope you know by now that I really care about the Predators. So the Predators are going to be existing, of course, way past my time. But I really felt that we were, after that, the 17 Cup Finals, 18 the President's Trophy, kind of hanging on and clawing back to make the playoffs, but ultimately not being, competitive for the Cup. That was kind of, bothering me. And as I've referred to, we kind of are in this middle right now. I mean, we could put a push on and make the playoffs. And maybe if I didn't trade away draft picks or players for draft picks and younger players, but I want to get back to not only being competitive, meaning making the playoffs, but I want to have the confidence and feel that we're going to win playoff rounds and again compete for the Stanley Cup. And really felt like after 25 years, it's probably somebody else's turn to do this. And the process worked out fantastically in terms of, I told the owners at the end of last year, and then we had lots of discussions about all the hockey ops and the things that we have changed in the past couple of years and changed this year, and to put that in the best possible position. I really truly feel that way, believe that way, that our group in hockey ops, our scouts, our managers, medical, fitness, all our facets of our organization are really good. And then, the process and eventually landing on Barry Trotz was like, this is like a book, like we're just writing one of the final chapters, at least for me, in terms of, the complete circle. And then we had some really important scouting meetings in January where I kind of gave direction to all of our people in our organization is what I thought was the right way to do it. Barry was part of those discussions with me before anybody knew that we were going to hire him, and then we executed on everything that we wanted to execute on. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun when you're taking some long-term players off of our team like Matthias Ekholm or younger player like Tanner Jeannot, but we did it, and I feel really good about it in terms of the assets we acquired and the team that we presently have, and giving chances to younger players. So I'm pretty pumped for a guy on the on the way out.
I want to ask one more because when it gets out, okay, the Preds are sellers. Then there's this immediate, well, okay, there's no chance of making the playoffs. But if you look at the standings right now, Winnipeg in the 8 hole is 6 points ahead of Nashville, but has played 3 more games. Mm-hmm. David, could this team make the playoffs?
Of course. I mean, this is what the beauty of sports is. I mean, I talked to the team when we were kind of going through the middle of this, and because there were some guys that were pretty down, a little bit sour, if you will, like what's the direction and all that. And first of all, I said, I kind of refer to my family. I refer to when I'm talking to my kids and whatever that the Poiles are planners. I said, I always have a plan, and I said, don't feel sorry for yourself. I said, this may be good, it may be bad, but you don't know, and I don't know either. But just do your job, stay in your lane, and let's see how this plays out. And I think we're playing pretty good right now. Again, a lot of younger kids there. Let's see what happens. I think the expectations are a little bit lower than they were, a couple of weeks ago, or for sure at the beginning of the season. But you just never know in this crazy business.
Watson, say hello to Predators general manager David Poile.
David, just first, congratulations, man, and second, thank you. What you've done around the city and what you've done with the Preds is, I don't know that it could have been done better. I mean, you've just done it first class and everything you've done. And the one thing that I noticed, I've been a fan probably in the last 7-8 years, had some season tickets for a while, is through the different college teams that have been in Nashville, the different pro teams that have been in Nashville, the Pred players to me have carried themselves first class. Everything they do is first class. They're involved in the city as much as anybody I've ever seen. I'm talking college, pro, whatever. So you've brought in not only good players, but you've brought in first class people. And I just don't think that's looked at enough. I don't think it's done enough. And just thank you for that, because I think it's obvious that the Preds have been number one in that area.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I learned very quickly coming to Nashville in terms of, community and giving back, all those situations. So that played right into what I hope I represent in terms of, family and, and as Barry Trotz taught me, is like, when I always said to him, well, what are we going to do? He always says, well, we're going to do the right thing. And again, our players get it and they want to be part of that. You're starting to see more and more players, retire in Nashville after all these years, and it's going to be a destination for a long time because of how great Nashville is, and the state of Tennessee, and all of the fun you can have here, and all the benefits that are provided here in Nashville. So I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, there's things if you list off, like, in your vision, what did you want to see, and what do you rank as importance? Well, I guess in importance, you would say, of course, the winning, but to me, involved in all of that is how you did it, how you represent the city, represent the state, and so that was music to my ears. So thank you very much for saying that.
Well, it's obvious that those decisions were made with that in mind, or that wouldn't be the way it was. I know, David, when I was in my sport as a coach and an AD, so I tasted that, quote, general manager piece of two. And I was in it 40 plus years. And I know when I got out, one of the first things that I did, and still do 6 years later now, is I look back and say how the game has changed, how my game had changed from when I got in it and 40 something years later than when I stepped away from it. Talk about that a little bit, about hockey and how it has changed, how you've seen it changed, and some of the goods and some of the bads of the changes.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot. And one of the things, as you get older, you want to be, relevant, you want to be up to date. And, I find from, our scouts, our office staff, I mean, the education that they have, especially electronically with the computers and different things that they can do is, I'm of a different generation, and, you've got to keep up with it. The other thing that when I was a young guy in hockey, I would sometimes look at some of the more veteran people running the sports, and I didn't mean it, but I was saying sometimes they may be a little out of touch. So I think we've got to be careful as we go along, not to stay the same. I think you have to keep up with the times. I hope I've done the best I can in that area. The game of hockey has certainly changed a lot. I mean, you can start with the equipment, everything is better. It's lighter, it's more efficient. Your sticks are lighter. You can shoot the puck harder than ever before. The skates are better than before. Gloves, the protection is better. Helmet wise, all those situations. The conditioning of the athletes and the training of the athletes, the preparation of the athletes is so much better. With, again, all due respect, the players today versus the players in the 60s or something like that, their talent is way, way better. And I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. It just is from skating to conditioning to handling the puck, shooting the puck, all those situations. So, I think the game is a better product now than it was in the old days, if you will, just because of those things. I've said the skill on display every night is unreal. I mean, you should watch some of our practices when guys are just goofing around and kind of doing skill type of things. And it's things when I grew up, I never even thought of even trying. So I think the game is in the best position it's ever been in terms of the talent in the league and the way the game comes across to the fans. So I just think it's in terrific shape.
Last thing I got, George, David, is I know when I quit, I had to go down slowly. I couldn't just leave what I was doing. I traveled and worked for ESPN as an analyst for 3 years. And then since then, I've kind of been with George, staying in and around athletics. Are you going to hang around and stay in Nashville? Or are you going to help the Preds? What is your next 2 or 3 years in your thought process and what you're going to do?
Everybody that I've talked about has told me about do not judge your retirement on your first 6 months.
Yeah.
My wife is very worried because our wedding vows, we said we married each other for richer or poorer, but not for lunch. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic for us. I'm going to be an advisor, to hockey ops, specifically Barry Trotz, and to the owners with both Herb Fritsch and Bill Haslam. I believe I can bring, a lot of historical information to them of why things happened and what we did here and there and what have you. But, you never know how that's going to play out. So I think I'm ready for this, but as you're kind of telling me, I don't think any of us really know the answer for that. But yes, we're going to be living in Nashville, but certainly have my freedom to, and we'll certainly use it to see more of my family. My wife and I certainly have some plans of some specific things we would like to do, but we have these new things called cell phones that seem to keep us in touch all the time, even during the night. It's amazing how that's changed. How sometimes you never sleep through a night anymore.
Boy, don't want those late night calls either. You know that.
David, I had to laugh. My mom used that line years ago when my dad retired. She said, "You need to understand something." She said, "I married your dad for better or for worse, but not for lunch. And as long as he's not in my hair, I don't give a damn what he's doing."
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna have to find our space at some point. I get that, but it's all good. Like I've been married 51 years, but as my wife would say, it's really only 25 because I've been gone half the time. So we're all good.
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to come on. I hope retirement is unbelievably good for you, but I hope you're very involved with the Preds because that's the way it ought to be.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Thank you, Watson.